Welcome to another episode of Over This Should podcast, where we ditch the expectations and the shoulds that have been put on our lives so we can live a life we actually love. And speaking of a life we love, I'm excited to introduce you to Tammy Johnston. She's the dynamic force behind KSA Business, a company dedicated to empowering entrepreneurs and solopreneurs to thrive in their business ventures. With over 20 years of experience, Tammy specializes in providing foundational skills to help small businesses not just survive, but truly thrive. Isn't that what we're all looking for? She's known for her honest, ethical, and responsible approach. She's affectionately dubbed the hold your hand and kick your ass business coach by her clients. Tammy is passionate about helping entrepreneurs share their gifts with the world, solve problems, and make a positive impact. Join us as we dive into Tammy's wealth of knowledge and insights on building successful and fulfilling business. Welcome to the show, Tammy.
Thank you for having me, Pamela.
My pleasure. In that introduction, is there anything I missed that you want to make sure people know about you?
No, I think you covered it quite well.
Awesome. I also saw, I really love this. This is definitely an earbuds episode if you've got little ones in the car with you or whatever you're doing. You said that you are a positive shit disturber.
Yes.
I love that. Tell me more about that and what does that mean to you?
I believe that my purpose is to mix up the status quo and leave as much good in the world as I possibly can to help people, encourage people, call out the bullshit and lies, and support people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to fix the disaster we're in.
Yeah. So tell me more about how you got to founding KSA. What did that journey look like for you?
Well, it's kind of interesting. So I actually have two businesses. My background is in financial services. So I've been in financial services for coming up on 33 years. And I started my own business like 23 years ago. And I was working with a lot of self-employed people, solopreneurs and stuff like that, helping them go over their finances and that. And one of the things that I was discovering was they needed help with their business. And I'm going, that's a lot of my background. That's my passion. That's special talent. That's stuff I've been learning and studying and doing since I was 7. And it was part of my old job. And I'm going, I have a greedy, motivated self-interest to help them because broke people can't afford investments or insurance, which is the stuff I get paid on. So I started helping them with their business. And things started getting an awful lot better. Then they're referring me to their other self-employed small business client friends and that. So I started picking up, and then so I started adding in my small business classes and things like that. So things just started to grow. And then in 2019, I split my company in two. So I still have my personal financial planning company, but that's how KSA branched off, where I focus on the business stuff, the coaching, consulting, and teaching.
I suspect you see very thematic or common challenges with small businesses. Can you share some of the challenges that you're seeing?
The biggest thing that I see is that just a lot of people are technicians. Mm-hmm. They technically know their product or service. They're willing to work really hard, but they're lacking the business skills they need to make that business survive. And they go out into the world with all of the best intentions and all this energy, and they just keep hitting the wall. And a lot of the time they don't even know why. And it's because they're lacking the foundational skills to build a business to survive. Yeah. So I'm going, okay, business is business is business. Doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what industry. Doesn't matter if it's product or service or any of that. The foundational pieces are the same everywhere. You have to have your mindset right. You have to know how to set your goals and your habits. You have to have your marketing. You have to have your advisory team. You have to have your financials, your systems, your cash flow, your profit. That's the same everywhere. How exactly you're going to do your marketing, or who you have to have on your advisory team, or what systems exactly, that's where things change. But the basics are the same. When you've got the foundation, your chances of surviving go through the roof. Any of the pieces that you're missing, or the more of them you're missing, the faster and the harder you're going to fail.
Okay, so somebody's listening to this who's just thinking about starting a business or has just started their business. It's really overwhelming in the beginning stages. So, what is the first three things they could do?
The first three things that they could do. So they need to start learning about business, not just like, so for example, years ago, I was one of the speakers at the Professional Photographers of Canada convention, and it was wonderful. And it was like a 3-day convention, and they have like all sorts of courses. There was me and one other person talking about business. Everybody else was talking about like Photoshop and lighting and how do you get them to pose and do all of this stuff. And I'm going, this is supposed to be professional. And yes, you need to be technically good at your stuff, but I'm going professional, not expensive hobby. Professional need to be able to make money and stuff out of it. And people came into my session, and I'm not a photographer. Like, I am not. And I told them right off the bat, I said, like, I'm doing, like, you should be proud of me if I'm pointing the right end of the camera. Two people got up and left. But then I started, no, I'm all about business. Like you said, you can be good at what you do. But we start going in, and they absolutely loved it.
Mhm.
But most people, like I said, they're technicians. So you need to start learning about business. So really good books. Find yourself like a really good business coach that is where you are. Like there's a lot of great business coaches, but they're what I call ologists. They're specialists. They're really good at like Facebook marketing or like they're very pigeonholed.
Mhm.
When you're starting out, you don't even know what you don't know. So you need to be working with a business coach that, like you said, understands where you are, can teach you the basics. And then I would say you need to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, other small business people. Because a lot of people, when they start out, like when I first started my business, all of my friends, my entire social circle, which were wonderful people, were all were all small employees. I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my world. And
Mhm.
so I couldn't talk to them. Like I would try and they would look at me like I had six heads. Like they couldn't even grasp the concept. So I started finding some networking groups and I went through a few that I'm going, no, not a good fit. But I found two that were really good fits for me and made friendships with other entrepreneurs, other small business people, and started learning things. And I was having discussions, and number one, learning that I wasn't alone in all the lovely, fun stuff that I was going through. And those were the things that really made a huge positive difference, especially in the beginning. And a lot of those people that I made as friends like 23 years ago were still friends.
So, tell me more about what it means to create an advisory board.
So everybody needs to surround themselves with a good advisory board. I even tell people, especially start out with a board of directors. And if you can't have a board of at least a mastermind. And a board of directors is a group of 6 to 8 people that are in business, have different skills and strengths that are willing to come together with you on a regular basis. Like I do mine every 2 months.
Mhm.
And you get naked with them. And what I mean by that is like you show them what's going on in your business. You tell them where you're having problems. You let them know what your plans and your goals and stuff are. And you say, okay, beat me up. Help
Mhm.
me. What am I not seeing? What am I not understanding? What am I missing? Who can you connect me with? And then you pay attention, and that helps you out because most people, especially when they start, are getting their business advice from their broke ass friends and family that have never set foot in the arena.
Mhm.
And some of it is well-meaning, some of it is actually not well-meaning, but a lot of it, if they've never even been in business or have any idea of what you're going through, it'd be like asking me about how do we do open heart surgery. I haven't a freaking clue. I've watched Grey's Anatomy. That doesn't make me qualified.
Oh, 100%. How do you help people identify their strengths and their weaknesses so they know where they need to get educated?
Well, one of the quick things that I'll have people do on their own is I have solopreneur self-assessment where they can go through. But a lot of the time, I just end up like talking to them because what I found is there's typically two types of people that start business. So I found 60 to 70% are what I call like the bunny rabbit types. They're really good at the ideas. They don't have a problem with marketing. Like they could sell anything to anyone. They're very extroverted. They're high energy. They're the idea people. Their problem is, okay, now I actually have to go back to the office or the store or whatever it is, and I have to deliver. And I have to make sure my bills are paid, not because I don't have money, but because I'm so disorganized and I might not even know where the bill is to be paid or any of this stuff. So they need their help in the back end.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's the vast majority of people that I find that start. So like I said, they need like all the back end help. And then I find the others, 30 to 40%, and these are more my types of people, or what I call the owl types. And don't ask us to typically come up with the idea, but if you give us a job, we are going to wow you. Oh my God. You're going to be so impressed. We're going to deliver above and beyond. Our office and space is all put together. Our bills are all paid on time. We can tell you where they are. Our accountants love us because everything is so organized. Our problem is, okay, you want me to go out and talk to a real live human being and tell them what I do and how I can help them? Oh no, that's terrifying. So they typically need a lot more help, like I said, getting out of their comfort zone and learning how to market and talk to people. So there's always exceptions to every rule, but that's what I have found in decades of experience, that people fall typically into those two camps.
Gotcha. When you mentioned earlier, mindset and habits were foundational pieces to a small
Mhm.
business. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, mindset, when you're an employee, and that's how we're trained through school and socialization and all this stuff for the vast majority of people. You think very, very differently and you behave very differently than what is needed to be a successful entrepreneur. So you have to,
Mhm.
okay, you have to start looking at things differently. You have to start doing things differently. And for some people, it's a relatively easy thing. It's like, oh, you just show it to them and going, this is what I've been looking for all my life. And some people, no, they just don't get it. So the mindset, because that's everything. Because if you're going in with the wrong mindset or you're constantly going back to the bad mindset, makes everything harder. You can be doing all the physical work, but if you have the arguments going on in your head, that's going to cause you an awful lot of stress. And then habits. When you're an employee, somebody else is telling you what to do and typically how to do it. Some places you get more autonomy than others, but you have all these external factors that what are your business hours? Where do you have to be? What do you have to be doing? You've got somebody looking over you. When you are your own boss, it's a blessing and a curse because if you know what you need to be doing and you're disciplined on doing it, you don't have a problem. But if you've never had to, okay, I have to figure out everything. So most people, when they start off, they don't know how to work like that. So they want to be busy and they want to be productive. So they
Yeah.
end up doing stuff that is shiny or loud and coming at them. And then they're wondering why they're not getting results. And I'm going, you're shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic after you've hit the iceberg. Yeah, you're doing something. You'd be better off. Number one, I prefer to avoid the iceberg in the first place, but standing up in the crow's nest watching for them is not fun. It's not exciting. And if you don't know anything about navigating an ocean in the dark, in the cold, you might not even know that there's icebergs out there.
Okay.
So how are
Okay.
you putting together your days? What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. I want to unpack that just a little bit. Can you give us some examples of a good mindset versus a bad mindset?
That is a very good question. Give me a second to figure. Okay, how would I explain? Bad mindset. Life happens to me. They're victims of circumstance where an entrepreneur, no, I need to be in control. Huge one for employees. As employees, we're not to make mistakes. Mistakes are expensive, mistakes are bad. We're not being paid to make mistakes,
Mhm.
which is correct. But as an entrepreneur, you need to be making mistakes. You need to be failing. You need to be trying things. And the vast majority of things are not going to work, and they're not going to work perfectly. So I would say that's probably the biggest one. Getting away from, okay, no, I can't risk making mistakes, to no, I have to make a lot of mistakes. I always hammer on people, you need to learn to fail faster.
Right.
And here's the other thing. You need to learn from your mistakes. If you keep making the same mistake over and over, that's not what you want to be doing as an employee or as an entrepreneur. But you need to be willing to take those risks and try things. Like I have tried so many things over the years and thought things that I thought, oh my God, this is a brilliant idea. People are going to love this, or this is a great marketing thing. And not like it didn't work. And things that I tried, okay, you know what, I'll just try it for fun or whatever, have been huge hits and different things in between. So, like, there's a lot of stuff. But okay, if I'm picking the number one, fail faster. Like, get comfortable with failure, because most of what you do is going to suck. And your job is to improve it and get better and learn and make decisions faster.
Yes. So starting at the mindset part, changing it from why is this happening to me to why is this happening for me? So you get out of the victim mentality.
Or how can I be in control? What choices can I make? What can I do?
How about giving examples of what it means to be busy versus productive?
Okay. I always say, okay, what's the difference between efficient and effective? Efficient is doing a lot of the things well. Effective is doing the right things. So a lot of people will put tons of effort. Like when I'm working with people that are setting up a retail space, they will nitpick over the absolute smallest details about how the shop is set up and how pretty this display and stuff is. And yes, we have to have quality, but I'm going, you can have the best looking shop in town. If nobody knows you exist and you haven't done any marketing because you don't want to go out and talk to people, you are of the fake belief that build it and they will come. You just have to put a sign out and business is going to flow in. Efficient, yeah, oh yes, you can organize that store really well. Effective would be learning how to properly market and bringing people into the store.
All right. Efficient versus effective. That's a really good way to look at it. What other things would you tell a solopreneur to, kick their butt and hold their hand? Like, what are things that you do to motivate them to get started in the right direction?
Oh, that's another huge question, because a lot of it comes down to what are their issues, because we have generalities, but different things motivate different people. So I'm always, okay, why did you get into business? Like what was your purpose for getting into it? Why are you doing what you're doing? And then also, why did you pick that business? Because there's millions of different businesses you could pick. Why did you pick that one? And okay, get them seeing that positive future. Get them asking things. Or what are the things that they need to do just to get going? So, for example, we all procrastinate. Like it is the human condition. So how do you get out of procrastination? One of the things I like to do is have people pick their small rewards. Because yes, we want the big rewards. Okay, yeah, no, if I hit my goals by the end of the year and stuff, we're going to go to Hawaii next year. Does that sound good?
Of course.
Of course it does. And a lot of people will set goals like that. How many people make it to Hawaii?
Probably 2%.
Yeah, slim to none. Why? Because it's so far off and such a big goal that I can avoid it, or today doesn't matter or whatever. Not saying don't have like Hawaii as the goal, but what are your small goals to get you over the things that are holding you down today? So for example, if you've got somebody who loves coffee and you're going, okay, they're a major coffee drinker or whatever. And I've had people like this and I'm going, okay, you need to make your sales call. You need to pick up the heaviest thing in the world, which is your phone, and actually call your 5 people today. You can have your first cup of coffee before you leave the office or before you go down to the office so that you can function, because we don't want anybody like driving and hitting the wall.
Right.
But here's the deal. You can't have your second cup of coffee until you've made the calls. And because they really, really want that coffee, and that's a now thing, they'll do it.
Interesting.
Because it's an instant thing. So it's finding, like I said, the little ways to trick yourself. There's some people that don't need that. It's like it's learning what works for you, and then hey, let's work on doing that. Some of the simplest things I have found to be by far the most effective.
Yeah, I love that. I always think about when I help companies set goals, one of the things we talk through is the goal is the destination you're trying to drive towards. But what are the little mile markers along the way? Like what are little indicators of success or that you need to pivot or change direction to get to that ultimate goal? And the little mile markers should be accompanied by celebratory points. How do you
Mhm.
celebrate that mile marker so that you want to stay on track, so that you stay motivated?
What gets rewarded gets done.
Yes, I say it. What gets rewarded gets repeated. I love
Yeah.
that. I worked for somebody who used to always say, soldiers do what leaders check. And I was like, okay, but it feels punitive. So can we say what gets rewarded gets repeated so that it felt more celebratory in nature?
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that are raised in like a punishment mentality, and certain things like, yeah, we do need to be dealing with that. But the vast majority of people are much more motivated by the positive. So like I like if you said, soldiers do what leaders check. Um, I think it was Napoleon. People people will die for like little bits of metal, like what soldiers will do because they could win the Bronze Star or whatever. They're wanting the rewards. They're wanting the acknowledgement. And sometimes that's external stuff. Sometimes it's just, oh God, I really want that coffee, but I made a commitment to myself and my business coach who will ask me, and no, I will lie, and she will verbally kick my ass. I will do it.
Yeah, I mean, Tammy, if you got between me and my cup of coffee, that I would be very upset too. So yeah, we'd have to make sure we hit all those goals because as you can see, I'm on number two as we're talking to you. So number two cup of coffee. Nothing really gets between me and that. Okay, there was a survey that was done in June in America. About 45% of people, mostly women, are exiting the workforce. And one of the main reasons they cite is lack of flexibility.
Mhm.
And so I think we've been seeing this trend since COVID, specifically for women, because you have to accommodate taking care of the children who are now out of school and then trying to figure out how to work. And not all workplaces were up to snuff with the ability to work remotely. So there was just a lot of challenges, and we're still
Mhm.
seeing the trend of exit. So I have two questions. The first would be, as people are looking to exit and potentially start their own gig so that they have flexibility and autonomy over their day, how do they really get clear on their purpose, their why, their passion, what they can take from a passionate hobby to a profitable business? How could they explore that so they could find the thing that will actually bring them joy and money?
Oh, that is a huge, good, and loaded question. Um, and I'm going to go back a little bit. Like you said, that trend, like yes, it's on an upward trajectory, but that's one of the reasons I started my business so many years ago because my husband and I, we were talking about starting our family, and I'm going, I don't want to have to get my kid up at 5 o'clock in the morning so that I can get them to daycare and drop them off and get to a job that I can't freaking stand, and then miss the first steps and the first words and all of this stuff. Pick them up, maybe see them for like half an hour before I have to put them to bed, and just rinse and repeat for the next few years. I did not want to do that. And I'm going, especially like I said 23 years ago, that was how it was going to be. Like we didn't have the flexibility, but I'm going, okay, if I go into sales like people have been telling me I need to do for years, I can set up my day. I can do this stuff. I can work through it. And I got fired, started my business, got pregnant, and I had clients that went through the pregnancy with me, and then I'd show up after I had my daughter, and I took 30 hours of mat leave. Hours, not days, not weeks, hours. And I'd show up with my daughter and they go, "Can we hold the baby?" Yes, here you go. So for me and a lot of people, okay, it's a relatively natural thing. We know what we like to do, but there's a lot of really good books out there to kind of help you figure out your purpose. A couple of one authors that I'm really fond of for things like that are Seth Godin, Simon Sinek,
Yes.
to help you kind of figure out that. I would also say, okay, talk, like if you don't have some small business owners, entrepreneurs in your world, find a few and start listing and start paying attention so that you can kind of figure out, and then they can tell you, okay, if you have this idea, what you want to do, how can you go about doing some market research to see is it viable or how can you make it viable? And I'm a huge fan of, okay, let's try and get as much stuff figured out and lined up as you can before you transition out. Because one of the reasons why I do what I do, which is focusing on the new entrepreneurs, like idea stage up to 2 years in business. And my favorite are what I call the praying for the pink slip crowd. Like, I want out.
Yeah.
Because when I started my business, like I said, I was fired from a job I absolutely hated. And it
Mm-hmm.
was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because I was already interviewing for other jobs. And if it had been another week, I would have been on to another job with
Mm-hmm.
better pay and a better title. And it would have been the same shit show, different pile.
Yeah.
And then when I got fired, I felt this great big huge weight being lifted off my shoulders. And I'm going, I never have to work for another creepy, incompetent old man again. I am
Mm-hmm.
finally going to go into sales. And like I said, my background is financial services. One of the things I do is I sell life insurance. No one wants to talk to me. I can clear a room by telling people I sell life insurance. But I decided in that moment, and I was in a much better position than most people because I do have a strong business background and it is something I'm passionate about, not just selling life insurance, but the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my first 2 years were very stressful and challenging. And I don't know how I survived. I went from making like $55,000 a year to you eat what you kill.
Yeah.
In my first 2 years, I made about $24,000, which averages to $1,000 a month. Except when you eat what you kill, you're not getting paid $1,000 a month. You might get paid $50 for 1 month. And then, okay, I finally got a commission to go through. And so it was very, very challenging. After the 2 years, when I made it through and I had put together my systems and my marketing and built up my reputation, I've never done like cleared anything less than 100 grand. But those first 2 years, I don't know how I survived
Yeah.
because I also had a
Right.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going, if I could go back and talk to me 1 year before that magic I got fired moment and say, okay, Tammy, you're going to get out of this one way or the other. Let's start putting your eggs together in the safely in the basket or lining up your ducks because, well, they never line up. And if they do, you better take a picture because they're going to scatter. But start putting things together now and not just designing your dream storefront or whatever. Like, how are you going to do your marketing? What are your, who's going to be on your advisory teams? What are some of the systems you need to be putting together? Do you understand the difference between cash flow and profit and how you're going to be bringing in both of them?
Mm-hmm. So as you're aligning to your passions and the things that excite you, you should also be building out your business plan so that you have a foundation to build onto.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I do want to give listeners a sliding door moment. So you got pregnant and you decided that you didn't want to miss those key milestones with your kids and were looking for a different way to do things. My oldest is 19, so not too far apart from your 23-year-old. We decided as a couple that even though I was making peanuts, I should continue to work because I would be working towards a pay increase. And so at 6 weeks with all three of my children, I sent them off to daycare, heartbreaking all three times. I'm sure I missed a lot of very key milestones with them. And all along the way, I thought about, is this what I want to do? I was making $35,000 a year back then. And I was like, is this what I want to do? I'm missing all this time with my kids. I'm trying to create something for the future. And so I stayed in the workforce. And the reason I want to give this sliding door moment is because this worked out for you. You had a plan, you set the plan in motion. I thought like, okay, I'm going to try to exit with MLM type things. This is in my early 20s. Maybe I'll sell candles. But then like I only knew moms, right? And most of my friends decided to stay at home. So then they didn't have money. So then I would just give the candles away. And then I was like, I'll do scrapbooks. Everybody likes scrapbook. And then I just give the scrapbook stuff away. I was a terrible MLM person. I can't be a salesperson because I'm like, you need this too. Here you go, have all the things. Oh, but I kept working. And what happened for me is the the lack of growth I saw for women in corporate America, the fact that we still have to deal with sexual harassment, the fact that men are going to be advocating for themselves, and that's seen as a good thing, but not every time a woman advocates for herself is seen as a good
Oh
thing.
no, she's being a bitch.
She's assertive, she's a bitch, she's a whatever. If I wouldn't have stayed on this path, I wouldn't have decided to be a disruptor for women. And so now I'm reaching my hand out and trying to get more women in positions of power, and have turned that subsequently into my coaching business, where I'm like, let's get clear on your goals. Let's get some confidence going, and let's get your communication skills sharpened. And I always joke with the women that, like, you should have communication skills that take you from the boardroom to the bedroom. Let me be very clear. Those are separate distinctions, not with the same people, like separate.
That's happened, but it definitely complicates things.
Yeah, let's not do that. We're not gonna, like, I don't know, mix the meat with the bread and butter, however that stuff goes. I don't really know the saying there. But there's different paths. The journey might be different for your family. But I think the thing I've learned listening to you and then thinking about my story is, whatever path you decide, there is lessons to be gathered for your next chapter, whatever that might be. Okay, so now thinking about the people who took my path and they're like, pink slip, please, or what's my exit strategy? How do they start to prioritize? Because working all day, maybe having a family, leaves you with slivers of time to build your business. So how do they prioritize what's important so they can actually grow something great?
So that's actually a really good thing. And one of the things, so fortunately, like you said, I got fired and started my business, and then like within 6 weeks I got pregnant. So I went through the whole pregnancy while trying to build a business, and my hats off to any woman that repeats the process. I did not like pregnancy. I have one child for many, many, many reasons. But one of the things that I had to learn once my daughter was born, because she didn't sleep through the night till she was almost 5. And she nursed more at night than she did during the day. Like 90 minutes is about as much sleep as I could get at a time before she would go off and she would need to feed again. And so I would literally have to try and grab some naps sometimes when she was down and figure things out. So one of the things that I had to learn was being very, very concentrated when I had my bits to work. So I could get like an hour to 90 minutes at a time where, okay, I need to be doing this, and we do bits. And when I would see clients and stuff at night, and I had a lovely, lovely business partner who started with me, and we would go, and my husband worked evening shift, so he couldn't look after our daughter. So what we would do is we would go to her place. I would feed and change my daughter, leave my daughter with her husband. We would go see our first set of clients for the night. We had an hour to hour and a half, and then I had to go back. I had to feed, change the diaper, leave my daughter with her husband again. We would do our second appointment, and then I'd pick her up, feed her, change her, go home. So I really, really had to get good at what I was doing and figuring out, okay, what are the things that are actually going to be moving the needle forward? What is the stuff that's likely to be bringing me in money in the next 90 days? Because I had to work on 90 days, because I can write up the business, but then, okay, it has to go through underwriting, and we have to get things moved and all of this stuff. And every once in a while it would go through quickly, but a lot of 90 days for when I actually get the paperwork signed to getting paid. So I had to go, wait, what is the stuff that's going to get me paid? And so a lot of the frivolous stuff would have to get put aside. And going through that really helped set me up for success, because I've never dropped those habits. So I can get way more done than most people in a fraction of the time. And that's one of the blessings that women have, because we're in charge of everything. We know we have to multitask, or kids die. Like, we can't just be focused on the kids, because then dinner's not getting made, the laundry's not getting done, our business isn't going. So we learn, how do we get this looked after? And I'd say the biggest thing is, what do I need to be doing now that's going to make the cash register ring in 90 days or less?
Okay. I agree with that. And I want to take a different approach to it of thinking about the early stages of solopreneurship and how you can be overwhelmed because you think you have to have a website, you have to have some kind of branding, you have to have a sales funnel, you have to have a point of sale place. You need to get out and meet clients. You need to get to networking events. It can feel really overwhelming. So I'll speak for myself. I can come up with an idea and really know that it's going to create change for the intended client or customer. But I get in my own way because I'm like, well, how do I put this on social media? How do I put it on my website? And I get just stuck in this hamster wheel of it actually never gets advertised and I never get a client because I don't know how to get out of my own way with all the things I tell myself I need to do. So I was super stuck in the early stages of my business. Mm-hmm. How would you tell people to get the F out of their own way?
Done is better than perfect.
Ooh.
Because perfect doesn't exist. So when I started, I was blessing and curse. Social media didn't exist. Like there wasn't even MySpace. So that's how long ago it is. But I did need a website and I didn't have the money for doing it. So I had to figure out how to do it. And I've been through so many websites because I tell people your business is living and it's always going to be growing and changing and evolving. Put something out there because you're going to add to it. There's going to be mistakes. You're going to fix them. You're going to get different ideas. You have to put something out there. Get over the perfectionism. And I will once again come back to who's on your advisory team. Do you have other small business people around you? Because they've been through that and they will help you out. They'll give you the reality. Perfect doesn't exist. Get it done. Put it out there. And here's the thing. You could be making mistakes or you put a typo on your business card. Vast majority of people aren't even going to see it. They'll see the business. You're better giving a business card with a mistake on it than not having a business card and not going to the networking event because you didn't have the perfect business card and my website isn't exactly the way that I want it because I don't have $5,000 to spend. No, just ready, fire, aim. Most people go ready, aim, fire, and then they spend all their time aiming and no, it's not perfect, so they never pull the trigger. Pull the trigger, do something, get feedback. I always say after every time you have a sales experience, at the end of every day or whatever, do an autopsy. What worked? What didn't? What do I want to try next time? And I train people in the beginning, do it in writing. I'll tell, go to the dollar store and get yourself just a little coil notebook and write down, okay, Wednesday, November 13th. Okay, what worked today? Write it down. And it's not like it has to be perfect. You're not handing it in for a grade to your English teacher. What didn't work? What do I want to try next time? Because that solidifies it and you're saying, okay, I can see the progress that I'm making. I can see the progress that I'm making because you're actually doing something.
Mm-hmm. I have a question about the ready, fire, aim that you just said. In that scenario, are you shooting with a buckshot that has little pellets that spray everywhere and you're just like, I'm trying? Or are you shooting with something that is focused on like one core concept? How do you start with, here's lots of things, or do you start with, I'm just going to shoot this one thing and I hope it works?
Both.
Okay.
It depends on the thing. So certain things, okay, I'm trying some marketing stuff. I'm going to try some stuff on social media or whatever. I'm going, okay, you know what? Do some buckshot with that. Try all sorts of different things. Because some of the best marketing stuff were things, okay, well, I read and listen to podcasts and audiobooks and all this stuff. And so many of our business heroes, the super successful ones, you go back and you listen to them from the beginning of their journey going, I tried all these things and the stuff that I thought was going to be really great, like that just didn't work. But I just thought, you know what? I threw this thing out and thought, okay, it's a funny little joke. And that's what took off. So when it comes to certain things like marketing, spray and pray, but pay attention. What worked? Like if you pay attention, like you don't see it so much now because everything is in the background, like with links, but somebody sends you a link. It could be like you could get a link from like 12 different people for the exact same thing. And each link will tell exactly where it came from. So we don't see that. But
Mhm.
remember when we were kids and you watched the commercials and stuff, and the as seen on TV, and you phone in to buy the
Yeah.
slap chop or whatever in the world it was. If you actually paid attention, every single commercial for the exact same product had a different phone number. And they had a different phone number because that would tell them what TV show it was shown on what channel, what and where in the show it was, so they could track where it was going. So you do have to pay attention, but like I said, certain things, yes, spray and pray, do the shotgun. And then other things you want to be a lot more focused on. So like, okay, I'm putting together my systems or my website or whatever. Well, then yes, you want to be a lot more focused on the concept. So it's not either or, it's which and when.
I love that. And I love the idea of no matter the method you choose based on the need that you're trying to meet, at the end of the day or at the end of the cycle of that effort, you do a post-mortem.
Yep.
What worked? What didn't work? How can I do this better? Maybe what were the stakeholders that made a difference? And to the analogy you just used around like the television and the time and the location, that becomes also part of the market research. So what worked where with what audience, why, and can I replicate that then?
And I'm going, keep it simple. Like, yes, you can always get into the minutia and all that stuff, and sometimes that's better. But there's a lot of people that will pigeonhole themselves and they'll get stuck in they're looking for perfect again. Where if you just make it kind of fun and quick and like what worked, what didn't, what do I want to try next time? And that could be the stakeholder, like I noticed something about the stakeholders or whatever, but make it quick where it's like, okay, 5 minutes, you'll do it. If you're going, no, I have to like rip it apart and I have to spend an hour doing this, you're not going to do it. You're not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I love that. That's awesome. We are coming up on time and I always want to respect people's time. So I want to ask you, how can people work with you? What type of clients do you want to work with? How should people connect with you?
Um, I love working with anybody that believes in doing business honestly, ethically, and morally. And I literally have clients from all over the world, uh, and all different industries and all this stuff. And I love that because I've learned so, like, I've got tradespeople, I've got retail, I've got professionals, I've got medical people, and everything in between. And I learn from them, and I love how they learn from one another because a lot of the time we only surround ourselves with people that are just like us, and then we're missing out on so much we can learn and the different ideas. Um, you can always find me on my website at ksabusiness.ca, and you can find me on Instagram at ksa.business.
Love it, love it. And the last question I like to ask every guest is, what is your favorite quote these days?
Oh, I have so many quotes that I absolutely love. Um, Done is better than perfect is the one I'll pick for today.
That's perfect for today. Thank you so much for being here, Tammy. I love your no nonsense attitude, all of your experience. I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to grow in the business you have, and I'm hoping you get lots of connections from this show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.